Welcome back, and I want to talk about bouncing down a mix, both in Pro Tools and Studio One, and show you the different ways that you do it. In Pro Tools, the first thing you want to do is obviously mark your entire mix. Now, that can be done a number of ways. You can come up here at the top and just grab the whole area. Now, if that's in grid mode, then it's going to mark to the nearest grid. In this case, it's a bar, and we could go into slip mode instead, which gets us off grid, and we could mark as much as that. Alternatively, what we can also do is if we mark an area with the mouse, then it's going to mark that whole area. Now that's the same in Studio One. So up here we just come here and we can draw an area in like that, and we're currently not snapping to grid, so there's our snap to grid there. You can snap that to grid instead. Or like Pro Tools, if we have a setting here that's loop follow selection, if we selected this entire region here, then we've selected that. So in both DAWs you have to select a region before you bounce. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself into all sorts of trouble. So let's open the bounce windows in both now. So in Pro Tools, it's File, Bounce to Disk, and there's a shortcut for that. So let's bring that over to that side in Pro Tools. And in Studio One, it's Song, Export Mixdown. So let's look at these and see what we've got and how they work side by side. So in Pro Tools, we've got the bounce source. Where's the audio coming from? Then we have the file type, WAV, AF or MP3, or you can choose WAV or AF and then tick the MP3 box and get a copy of both. Then there's a format. You can either have mono summed, multiple mono, or interleaved. Interleaved is what most people want, which is the stereo one. Then the bit depth, 16, 24 or 32-bit float. Then the sample rate. And then in Pro Tools, because it's a broadcast product as well and does a lot of post work, you've got these pull up and pull down options as well for the sample rate conversion. Then, because it's Pro Tools as well, you've got things like enforce media composer compatibility, import after bounce, and add to iTunes library. You can add to your iTunes library. Then you've got a file name and a directory where you put it. And then you've got an option to either bounce real time or offline, which is faster than real time normally. Now, the other thing as well is you could choose here in Pro Tools, this is where you would also create stems, and you can choose different bounce sources for those stems as well. So we'll come back to that when we do the stem video. So let's see how that compares in Studio One. So here's the file name of the directory, which is here in Studio One. So it's kind of top to bottom, the other way around. Then the file type, got several other options in Studio One. We've got WAV, AF, FLAC, OGG, CAF, and MP3. We've got our resolutions there. 8, 16, 24, and 32-bit. I suppose 8 bits if you're doing something for a phone system, joking apart. Then you've got between 11 and a quarter and 192K. Again, remember this is a music product right now, so it's giving you kind of musical options. Then the export range, you can export between the loop that we've set already, which is what most people normally do, between song start and end markers, between a set of markers, between selected markers, and then you can choose those as well. And then you could choose a duration instead. So I'm choosing the loop. Then the output, which is here in Pro Tools, is now here. You can bypass the main effects if you just want to put it out without the main effects. And again, like Pro Tools, we've got the import to track option, which is there. You can do real-time processing rather than offline. You can close this after export, and we can write the tempo into the file, so we can bake it in if we want, and we can add some overlap if we want to as well. And then we've got a time we can do that. Then we hit OK, and off it goes. And in both cases, it's just a case of just choosing that. So we hit the bounce button in Pro Tools, and it asks if you've got MP3 for some more MP3 information, and we press OK, and off it goes, and it bounces. And then it asks you to import the file. And there we are, there's the mix of what we just did from Pro Tools. Now let's try that in Studio One as well. So we're going to import to track, and we press OK. It also tells us if we've clipped in Studio One, which is nice, and we can delete that or we can keep it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to say no, and there it is now, the mix down in the track, just like it was in Pro Tools. So that's bouncing to disk in Pro Tools and how it works in Studio One. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session.